I'll be brief because you got to hear from the governor. The governor brings real results, real results. This is deeply concerning to me. Quote, this bothers me. Quote, I'm going to aggressively combat this. This is the language of leadership, the language of someone who cares deeply about our community, the language of Governor Hochul. Governor Hochul speaks with this tone because she has been with us on this issue for a very long time. For the entirety of her elected career, decades, that's right, decades, she has led the fight against anti-Semitism in every form. After horrific anti-Semitic violence in Pittsburgh, Jersey City, and Muncie, Governor Hochul called me, others, how could I visit shuls? How could I visit schools? How could I learn what we can do? How can we make a difference? A few weeks ago, after an anti-Semitic threat was averted, which we talked about, she called me and others in the state to let us know this is a critical issue for our administration and to ask that leadership, to ask, what else can be done? Once she has heard and spoken to our community about this troubling issue, she has sprang into unprecedented action. Action including tripling security funding to yeshivas and other non-public schools this past year, tripling it. Incredible. Action including budgeting and then appropriating tens of millions of dollars in security protections for our shuls, our schools, and camps. Action including signing executive orders to create counterterrorism units to tackle domestic extremism. Governor Hochul's language and laws have reverberated across the country. We've seen other governors and other states follow her lead. Not a week goes by where a legislator or governor doesn't ask us, please pass along what Governor Hochul is doing in the state of New York. Again and again, we've seen a pattern from Governor Hochul. By visiting Holocaust survivors to learn their concerns and then combating Holocaust denial through legislation and action, Governor Hochul is there for us. By visiting our students to hear their fears and make them understand that nobody should be afraid in this state. Nobody should be afraid to be Jewish. Governor Hochul is here for us. By speaking to this room today about what is going to happen immediately and tomorrow and the next day to fight anti-Semitism in substance and in form, Governor Hochul is here for us. Ladies and gentlemen, our friend and champion on these issues, Governor Hochul.
Thank you. Good morning, and Maury, thank you for the enthusiastic introduction. I would expect no less. We've been friends a very long time, and I'm grateful for that. And I thank the Orthodox Union for this convening. We go about our busy lives, and you think about issues, you see them in the news, you're aware of them personally, but to have the leadership say, let's sit together, let's call upon our leaders all the way from the federal level, and you're going to hear from Secretary Mayorkas, the leader in our nation to fight anti-Semitism and crime. He'll be here on his way very shortly. Then you hear from Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, one of the most powerful people in our nation, who's our very own from Brooklyn, understands our needs deeply. So you have the two top leaders from Washington and representing our nation come here today to address this issue. But also, to have Mayor Adams shows the power of working with the federal, the state, and the local leaders toward a unified approach to something that has gone on too long, perhaps more behind the scenes, but I believe was unleashed in 2016 when there became a normalization and an association with people who spew this hate that this country up until that time did not tolerate in a public way. Well, we've lost some ground, my friends, but it is time to cede that ground back. And leadership is what matters. A strong, powerful voice, united here in the state of New York, will be the lesson across the rest of the nation. And I could not be prouder to represent the largest Jewish community outside of Israel right here in New York. And as the mayor has said, that is why this is personal to us. This is our family. This is who we are as New Yorkers. We embrace everyone. And when you attack one of us, anyone, that is picking a fight with 20 million other New Yorkers, starting with your governor. And that is a fight I'm willing to take any day, any time, because I'm a fighter from Buffalo. And I say, let's mix it up, because you're trying to make individuals, because of their deeply held faith and traditions, feel marginalized or subjected to abuse and words of hate that hurt. It may not be the same as a physical fight or a physical altercation, but words and images can be painful, and people carry that within them, and that's why we have to let it out. We have to let people know what is happening to this community. Be public about it. Rise up in a sense, and also to realize that when we do not rise up and speak with a strong voice, calling out the perpetrators of hate speech and hate crimes, then we become complacent and complicit. And we saw the effects of that just in the last century, as someone who has visited the camps and spoken to family members. And you have to ask the question, where were the people? Where were their voices? Did they not see what was going on? Where was their spine? Where was their courage? And we know what happened. We lost millions and millions and millions of people. And I've had the privilege to sit down with Holocaust survivors, sit down with 10 women who talked about how in their elder years that they still felt that they lost their childhood because their family had been dragged to a concentration camp, or they lost the relatives that they never had the privilege of growing up with. They felt diminished after all these years of something that happened to them when they were children. And they said, one of them had this chilling statement to me. She says, I'm feeling the same is happening in my country. I'm feeling those same voices of evil and hatred are rising up. And where are people? They are stopping it. That, my friends, is what must call us to action now. Because we'll be judged by generations from now on how we stood up to the acts of hatred and the violence that occurs in synagogues and schools, but even on a street, like the young man that Maury Litwack and I had a chance to meet at a synagogue, and also after the yeshiva. We went over to the yeshiva, and he said to me, my friends tell me that I should not wear my yarmulke walking down the street because it puts a target on me, that someone will attack me, that they might spit on me, they might push me, they might hurt me. My friend says I shouldn't do that. And I said, young man, you must continue to wear your yarmulke and all indications that you are Jewish proudly, because for centuries, anti-Semitism, yes, has been the oldest crime, but it will only stop if we stand up. And we'll protect you, young man. We'll continue to protect you, but wear that with pride because your ancestors would expect no less. So we must continue to support people like that young man who is carrying on a deep and rich tradition. It took courage for him to continue, and I hope he still does. It takes courage for all of us to go out there. But know that no one is alone. There is strength in numbers. There is a unity that has risen up. And all of us who call out even people who socialize with athletes and entertainers and break bread and actually have a dinner with people that spew hate as they're walking out the door. You can shake your head and say, my God, what have we become? I won't accept that. I say, who will we be? Not what have we become, who will we be? And we will continue to rise up vocally, call out people on all platforms, and say, this is not what's going to be allowed in our country, and it sure as heck isn't going to happen in the great state of New York. We will continue to rise up, put resources to this challenge, and I thank this organization. Rabbi Hauer, this is a tough time, and I thank you and Maury and others for convening us here together, others who've been strong allies. I know Rabbi Indig is here in the audience. I want to thank him. All of us collectively have a moral responsibility, not just to the people of today, but for the next generation, because our progress today will make life easier for our children and grandchildren as they go forth. And what can the state of New York do? Yes, we'll continue to pass laws. Yes, we'll mandate that Holocaust teachings are actually taught in schools instead of checking the box and saying, yes, we took care of that, because I don't remember learning about it in my public school. That says to me something is failing. So we passed all the legislation to make sure that that education continues. Also, resources to protect targeted sites. We know the vulnerable sites. So we have $50 million available for organizations to apply for to protect the people who gather within. The synagogues, the yeshivas, the community centers. But also, what I want to do is take it one step further. Today I'm announcing that we are having a statewide hate and bias prevention unit that'll be embedded within our Department of Human Rights. And it's not just going to be sitting in a bureaucratic office. This is going to be part of a statewide initiative going to all 62 counties to educate and also be an early warning system. Let people know when you spot this, you see something your child is doing on social media and it concerns you. We can be in the prevention business as well by educating people as to what the signs are. This is going to be a task force that is going to go all over the state of New York and have meetings convened and bring together stakeholders and the trusted voices that can rise up with us. So this is not just a New York City phenomenon. This is going to penetrate throughout the entire state of New York. That's how we change people's hearts and minds. And I'm going to make sure that this organization, newly founded, we're announcing it today, right here, is actually an effective vehicle, an effective instrument for change. So I want to thank all of you for caring enough to come out today. Know that this is not an issue for the Jewish community alone. You have reinforcements. You have friends. You have allies. You have people who are deeply committed to ensuring that we fulfill our moral responsibility. And that's exactly what I'm talking about here. This is a moral obligation that each of us, Jewish or non-Jewish, have to lift up the voices of all and to stand when an arm is raised or a voice is spewing out evil words, that we stand up. Even if you're on a subway, you're on a street corner, you see something, my gosh, that could be your own family member, your own child, your own mother, your own grandmother. Stand up, New York. Come on. Stand up together. Call it out. Let us be the model for the rest of the world on what can happen when people band together in a common pursuit of doing simply what's right. And that will define us as New Yorkers going forth from this day. So count me in. I will be there with you every step of the way to protect, unite, call out, and ultimately eradicate anti-Semitism in our lifetime. Thank you very much. Thank you.